problems that I just picked, help you out. On your clean sheet of paper, you're going to write them down, because then you're going to turn it in to me at the end. I actually wrote the two formulas up here so that we don't have to keep jumping back and forth to the notes. So we just got it right there. This is the formula we use if they give us a what? Fraction. This is the formula we use if they give us a... If you're not understanding this stuff, if you're having trouble with it on your calculator, now's the time to figure it out. Test next week over this chapter. Wait till next week to figure it out. You're going to be out of luck. It's going to be too late. And one young lady last block punched it in her calculator, and her calculator's giving her the wrong answer every time because her calculator was set up wrong. All right? I have no clue. So if Chase is sitting there and he's punching it into his calculator, and it's not giving him the same answer everybody else is getting, and he just doesn't say anything because he thinks it's going to make him look stupid, gotta ask. It's not going to make you look dumb for asking. All right? Aaron back here, if he makes fun of you for asking a question, I'll throw Aaron's butt out of here quicker. Everybody understands? I say I gotta make sure I stay on task here. Number one. We're going to do number one first. Again, you're writing all this down. You don't have to draw the graph and everything, but writing down the work. Somebody help me out because I don't have a book.
Point X on AB is
1/5, so that's our fraction.
Yeah.
And we got points A and B, is that right?
Yeah.
So I need the coordinates of A and B. Do we have to figure them out from the graph or something?
That is -5.
-5, -5, thank you. 2, 9. Now, give me a second. I'm going to graph this. And again, boy, I hope this class, because all my other classes have been messed up all day. Let's see, 2, 9. I need to go up a bunch, so I'm going to drop down here a little bit. And maybe here. How do I graph -5, -5? Tell me how to move. And
Down 5.
that's point A. Is that where we're starting at? And we've talked about when I write up here. Does everybody see this segment right here? Is that, it's not supposed to be there. It's just a stray mark. Point B, how do I get to 2, 9?
Right 2, up 9.
If I count wrong or if I do something wrong, don't be afraid to tell me. I'm not going to yell at you for making me look silly or anything because I did something wrong and you pointed it out. So we have that segment. What's this fraction tell us?
That's 1/5. Split into 5 parts.
Splitting it into 5 parts. If I'm splitting it into 5 parts, how many times am I cutting it?
4.
Boy, those are horrible. That one's a lot smaller than this one, isn't it? But do I have 5 parts?
Yeah.
This, all I'm doing here when I'm graphing it is to give me some idea. That's it. It's for nothing else other than an estimate. Which point are we starting at? So we're starting here and going up this direction, right? How many spaces am I moving up from A? The top number tells us.
1.
So tell me when to stop. So we should be somewhere close to that point right there, right? And again, mine's probably way off, but let's make an estimate here. How much left do we go? -3. How much down? -1 maybe. So we should be somewhere close to that. That's just an estimate. Now let's mathematically do it. And we'll mathematically do it since we have a fraction. Do it using this stuff. Again, make sure you're labeling these so that it helps you. That's x1. What's this one called? Good. What's this one called? X2. Now we can just plug in. If we're trying to find the x coordinate, I'm going to separate this and find the x coordinate and then find the y coordinate. I'm just looking at that formula right there. X1 is what? -5, good. AB is what? 1/5, parentheses, x2 is, minus x1 is, what happens, ignore that, what happens here? Plus, plus. What are you going to do with all that? Grab your calculator, and I will tell you this. I'm going to go over it the first time, and I've been saying use the ABC button. I guess that confuses everybody. So instead of using the ABC button, back here in my back room, side of the box that's open.
Here's one.
Yeah, go back. All big. Instead of using the ABC button on this, use division. So as I do this, I'm going to explain to you. -5, this is the exact buttons you push on your calculator. -5 plus 1 divided by 5, parenthesis, 2 plus 5, parenthesis. All right, Aaron, go ahead.
It's
-3.6. Anybody else get that?
I got you. Mine must be 7. I got -3 power.
Go back there behind my desk. Oh no, it's wrong batteries on it. You got what? -3 3/5. Is that the same thing?
Yeah.
How could Keaton find out to make sure?
It's
Switch the mode. Let me see your calculator. Oh, because you know why? Because you use the ABC button, so it's going to give your answer as a fraction. Right? Hit equals again. Did it do anything?
No.
All right. Some of the calculators, when you hit equals again, it'll give you the decimal answer. So you got 3 3/5. All you need to do is change that 3/5 into a decimal. So what's on your calculator? What's 3 divided by 5?
6.
So it's going to be -3 point. If you wrote it -3 3/5, I'll understand it also. You understand that's a negative down there, right? We have to draw that in. Is everybody getting that?
Yeah.
Anybody not getting it? John, is your calculator getting lonely over there? Pick it up. Use it. The y coordinate. What do you notice about the formula for the y coordinate?
It's the exact same, just replacing.
Same thing, just the y's. What's y1 this time? -5 plus 1/5 again, right?
Yep.
Parentheses, what's y2?
9.
9 minus -5. What's going to happen there? Plus, plus. Again, one more time, I'll tell you how to put it in your calculator, just in case some of my friends back there where their calculator was getting lonely and they didn't type it in. Might be able to figure it out. -5 plus 1 divided by 5, parenthesis, 9 plus 5, close the parenthesis. What'd you come up with? -2.2. Anybody else get that? Now, somebody explain my answer to me. How should I write it? Am I just going to leave it that way and that's my answer?
No, you gotta do -3.6.
ordered pair.
Put it into an ordered pair. What's my first number?
-3.6.
What's my second number?
-2.2.
Make sure you write that down on your paper. Along with this work, that's your answer. Let's go back over here. That's the correct answer. We estimated that the answer was -3 and -1. Is that fairly close?
Yeah.
Yeah, it ain't too bad. It'd probably be a whole lot closer if Ebersole hadn't made this so small and this so big, right? With my drawing, but
With the uneven proportionate drawing, it's very close.
the only thing that, when we're estimating something like that, the only thing that we're really trying to do is make sure we're in the right general area. So if your answer had come up to been this,
Some probably wrong.
10, 3, that's somewhere over in here, something's probably wrong. We probably messed up a sign or something. John, is your calculator happy now? Number 7, look at number 7. I'm going to do number 7 without a graph.
Find point C.
Well, help me.
Find point C on A, one.
So, hold on, A, B, right?
Yeah. We're finding point C.
Point C, okay. 1/5, is that what you said?
Yeah.
1/5 again, bro?
That's all I can.
Oh, well. What's A?
Negative 3, 5.
Negative 3 what?
5.
5? Everybody agree with that? What's B?
5, 0.
5, 0. Does it say which point we're starting at?
A to B.
We're going to A to B, so we're starting here. We gotta know where we start at, otherwise it's gonna mess up everything. I'm just hoping that, usually we're starting here going that way, but that's not always the case.
Yeah, there's one or two of them that are switched.
Is it alright if I just write X instead of writing the X coordinate, writing all that out? We got a fraction, so again, we're using this same thing, right? This is X1, Y1, X2, Y2. This is AB, or A over B. Find the X coordinate. What's our X1?
Negative 3 plus 1/5.
Plus 1/5, parentheses, Y, or X2,
0, wait, 5.
5, minus X1,
0. Negative 3.
-3.
I'm done. Somebody else take over.
You're alright.
I do plus, right?
That, change that to plus. Type it into your calculator. Somebody tell me what you're going to type in so I don't have to say it again.
Negative 3 plus 1 divided by 5. Parentheses 5 plus 3. Parentheses.
Type that into your calculator, see what you come up with. So I have to move John up here so your calculator doesn't get loaded. By the time he picks it up, so when I look at it. That's not true, is it, John? You were getting ready to pick it up, I just looked at you first, right? At least you're honest. What anybody come up with?
Negative
Negative 1.4?
But I got 3.4.
You got 3.4?
Yeah.
So let's see.
I put in a division symbol.
What a reason? Your first number there. It's supposed to be a, it's supposed to be a 3. Negative 3. Now try it.
There we go.
Y, same thing, right? What's Y sub 1? 5 plus 1/5, parentheses, 0 minus 5.
Negative 6. 4.
There's two different answers. Punch it in again. It's positive 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody agreeing with that?
Yeah.
Positive 4. Now, since we did hear two different answers, for you when it comes test time, if I give you a little graph on there, would it be a good idea to maybe graph it? Just to see? Yeah, because if you come up with a 6 or 4, one of them's probably going to be off a little bit, and you're going to say, oh, that can't be right. What's my answer here then?
Negative 1.4.
equals
Negative 1.4.
1.4.
Negative 1.4.
Oh, negative? Negative 1.4 what? That's what
C.
point C is.
On the test, are we gonna have to put C?
Nah, not really. If you just write that down, that's all right.
On our test, can we use like our notes to
Maybe. Depends. I'm watching one certain student, and if they start doing their homework, then yeah, I'm gonna let everybody use their test, or use their notes. If that one certain student doesn't, then he's gonna mess it up for the whole class.
Yeah, Chase. I mean,
Number 9.
Number 9.
Find point W on line UB that is 1/7 of the distance from U to B.
This is a fraction again?
Yep.
You wanna do a different one?
Yeah, let's not do number 9.
Okay, then we'll do number 11.
So what, 11 and 13? Is 13 a fraction? Or a
13's a
ratio?
ratio.
That's okay, so let's do 11.
Alright, find point Z on line RS such as the ratio of RZ to ZS is 1 point, well, I don't know what is the ratio
Colon.
of 1,
1:3.
3. Yeah.
What's R? These you have to count up, don't you?
R is negative 1, 1.
Negative 1, 1.
Yes.
What's S?
7, 2.
Everybody agree with both those?
he's at 7.
Make sure they didn't count wrong. Now this time, if we're using a ratio, we still using this formula? Now we're using this formula. Now I'm going to tell you this, and just because you guys are my smartest class, don't try this. But if Josh likes this formula better, could he still use this formula?
Yeah. All he has to do is convert the ratio to fraction.
He's got to change this into a fraction. Now here's where you got to be careful. Is the fraction 1/3?
No.
Because how many parts are we actually splitting this segment up into? 4. So it'd be 1/4. Then could we just use that formula? Then we could have just had one formula and used that for all of them. All right? Now I'm going to graph this. Give me a second to graph it. Let's see. We don't have a real big number. 7 to the x, so that's not real big. Something like this. That's supposed to be going straight down that. Can't draw straight. Negative 1, 1. Negative 1, 1. That's point R.
2, 7. No, 7, 2, sorry.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 2. That's S. How many sections are we splitting this up into? 4. So how many times am I going to cut it?
3. There you go. That looks better.
That's a little closer than the last one. Still not great, but. Which point are we starting at?
R.
How many places are we moving from the R?
1.
1. So we should be,
Somewhere.
let's estimate that, if you can tell on my scribble up here.
1, 1.
Looks like 1, 1. That's pretty close, isn't it?
Yeah.
So let's see if we come up with the right answer. Something close to that. We're using this formula. X1, ignore that. Y1, X2, Y2. Where's the M and the N come from?
It's a ratio, so the M is 1 and is 2.
Make sure you write that down. Just label it every time. Then all you're doing is substituting in. This formula is not that difficult. You're just taking those numbers that they gave you and substituting them in. The X coordinate, let's find it first. What's in? So 3 times, what's X1? Negative 1 plus M is 1. Sorry, I got sidetracked in my mind. X2, 7, divided by M.
Divided by M plus N.
What's M?
4. Well, 1
1 plus 3. Keaton can do steps in his head, that's fine, as long as he doesn't make mistakes.
Did I make a mistake there?
No, I'm just saying as long as you don't, just make sure you don't next
made a
time.
mistake there.
No.
We're good.
Remember on this, can you plug all this into your calculator?
Yeah, but you gotta do it top and then
Do
the
the
bottom.
top, do the bottom, then do the division. So somebody tell me what do you get when you plug in all that on top? 4? Everybody agree with that?
So it's 1.
What's on bottom then? 4. 4 divided by 4 is Y coordinate. What's different about the formula for the y coordinate?
You're just switching out the y value. With the
See
x
these
and
things
y.
that I put in parentheses? Those are the x's. When we do it down here, they're the y's. So everything else stays the same. It's still the same as it was up top there. What's y1?
1.
1. What's y2? Somebody do the top for us. Somebody do the bottom. What's 5 divided by 4? 1.25. What's our answer then? What's our final answer here?
1.25.
1 and 1.25. Ignore that straight part going up through there. Are we pretty close to what we guessed? What are we doing to this segment again? What are we doing to the segment?
Finding point, finding point.
All right, so we're splitting it up into little partitions, different parts, right? So, if Chase is R, Chase, that's your point R, Delma is S,
That'd be point Z.
we're right here, that's where we said, right? How many parts are on this segment are on Chase's side?
1.
How many parts are on Delma's side?
3.
So 1, 3. That's what we're doing. We're splitting it up. We're not just splitting it up like right in the middle. We're splitting it up 1 part on this side, 3 parts on this side, or 5 parts on this side, 6 parts, whatever it happens to be. What's the next one? 13? No, we have
It was
13
14,
on
but
there.
no, it was 14, but we can do 13 if you want.
On his thing, it said 13.
No, it's
No, because instead of doing 9,
Instead of doing 9.
We added
Yes, it
13.
said 13 and
11, 13.
Oh, we did 11, yeah, and then we added 13. All right. All right.
Alright, find point E on line UV such that the ratio of UE to EV is 3.4. Well, 3:4. That's a colon, right?
So you have 3 parts compared to 4 parts, right?
Yep.
What are you? Or what's point U?
Oh, do you want the negative? It's
2 negative 4?
Yeah.
V?
4, 3.
X1, Y1, X2, Y2. I guess I should ask first. Which point are we starting at?
U to B, I think.
So we're going U to V, so this is X1 and Y.
Let me make sure.
Yes.
Yeah, U to B, sorry.
So this is our first point, that's our second point, right? So I did it right.
Initial and terminal.
Initial and terminal, that's M, that's in. Starting, stopping, right? So the X coordinate.
So it would be 2,
What's our in? 4 times 2 plus
3 times
M times X2, 4. All that over M plus N, which is what? 3 plus 4, 4 plus 3. Does it matter which order?
no,
Somebody do the top for us. 20 on top. Everybody agree with that?
divided by 7.
Ignore that going up there. Divide by 7 now. When you divide by 7, is it going to come out all nice and pretty? 2.9. Everybody agree with that? If you round it off, 2.9, something like that? Close enough. What's Y? The only thing that's going to change is the things in the parentheses, right? So 4 times what's Y1? Negative 4 plus 3 times what's Y2? Divided by 3 plus 4 still. What's on top? Negative 7. What's on bottom? It's negative 7 divided by 7. Negative 1.
So it would be 2.9 negative 1.
X coordinate, Keaton says is 2.9. Y coordinate, negative 1. That's our answer. Did I mess up somewhere? Don't tell me I messed up somewhere, Josh.
No, I just had a question about
4. If you put it into a fraction, would it be 3/7?
So if we were gonna use this, and we wanted 3 parts compared to 4, that'd be 3 out of a total of 7. And that's, maybe it's easiest, ask yourself this each time, Josh. If you're wanting to do it that way, ask yourself, how many total parts am I splitting this into? That's the number that's always gonna be on the bottom of the fraction. So here we're splitting it into 3 parts on this side, 4 parts on this side, that's a total of 7. Number 14, I think it's a word problem, isn't it?
I don't know. Leela. You ready for this one?
Sure, go ahead.
Leela is walking from the park at point P to a restaurant at point R. She wants to stop for a break when she reaches the distance. When the distance she has traveled and the distance she has left from has the ratio of 3:5. At which point should Leela stop for her break?
So she looks something like that, right?
Yeah.
That's her path.
Ratios.
What was 3 to 5?
Yeah.
R's coordinates are 0, 4, and P's coordinates are 10, 3.
10, 3.
Yeah. And then 0, 4 for R. You got it going the wrong
Oh, I got them. So this should be R,
Yeah.
and this is P.
Yeah.
Looking at it upside down.
You have to change that.
So this was what?
0, 4.
0, 4.
And then 10, 3. No, that was right. 0, 4 was right.
I know, but it put a stupid line going up through there, and made it look like 14 or something.
And then 10, 3.
10, 3.
Yep.
We're splitting it up into how many parts?
Six.
8.
8. So let's see if I can do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. A little off.
Wouldn't it be split?
Oh, I split too many,
we should
didn't I?
have 7 lines. What are you doing, Mr. Ebersole? Are you okay?
So how many times should I have cut it? If I got 8 parts, I should have cut it how many
7
times?
times.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now we got 8 parts.
8. Good job.
Get rid of that. How many parts are we going to move from R?
3.
So we should be somewhere about there.
Yep.
You could do this right there in your book because you're allowed to write in the book if you wanted to see. Split it up into those 8 parts. And let's get an estimate. About how far is it? What's the
I'm gonna
coordinate?
say 6.
3, 4. That's what I got. 3, 4 if I did it from the book. 3, 3, 4.
Yeah. Alright. I got 3.
I got 3, 4.
Anybody else? What did anybody else get? Because we got differing people here, so
I got like
Correct.
6 too.
6, 2. See, Aaron was changing his story, and now somebody else agreed with him, so now he's jumping back on it.
I got 3, 4. I might still
I got
Strategy. X.
All right, let's see. Find our X. We're just going to use this formula, right?
Yep.
This is, we're starting at R, aren't we?
Yes, sir.
That's X1, that's Y1.
It's like she's walking from P to
Ah. So she's going from P to R.
Oh, yeah, she's going from the park to the restaurant.
So this is X2 and Y2. This is
X1 and Y1.
X1 and Y1. And we went the wrong direction, didn't we?
That's probably why I failed.
So-
Okay, never mind. I
So
take
where
back
should
my
we, how many
previous-
spaces should we move from P?
take back my previous
3, so we
thing.
should actually be somewhere about there. So X1 is what? 10. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot N. What's N?
I say 7, 4.
5
The creation of my work.
plus M is,
7.
what's M? 3 times X2,
0.
0, divided by M plus N, 5 plus 3, We do all this math, 5 times 10 is 50, plus 0 is 50, right?
Yes.
What's 50 divided by 8?
I don't know.
6 point what? 25? Our y coordinate. Y coordinate, what's our n? 5. What's our y1? What's our m? What's our y2?
4 divided by 5 plus 3 or 3 plus 5, either one.
Either way.
3.375.
What do you get on top? Tell me that part first. 27 on top divided by 8 on bottom. What's it give you?
I got 3.375.
3.375?
So can we just round out to 3.4?
Yeah, I probably wouldn't throw a big fit if you did, but this is a number that you should know because it's eighths, and that's what's on our on like our tape measures and stuff. What's our x coordinate? 6.25. Y is 3.375. Is that pretty close to what you guys have guessed? Which one's correct? The one you guessed or this one?
That one.
Alright, so that's the exact answer. We just made
We
a
just
guess.
made an educated guess.
Does everybody have all that?
That was a lot of work.
Everybody wrote it down, right? Except for Madison, who gave out on me. What I need you to do next. Sorry, I lied to you. You're going to go up here and you're going to grab the 3 pieces of paper off that desk up there. Those are your notes. Fill in what you need to fill in. Chase is mad at me because I lied to him about that paper. What should he do with that paper? No.
I thought you said turn it.
I was going to, but I'm not going to collect it. What should you do with that paper since I'm not collecting it?
Put it in your binder.
Put it in your binder. Why did we do all that? So that you can have it to look at and refer back to. Because do I expect that John's going to remember every bit of that? Probably not. I hope he does, but probably not. And if he doesn't, can he refer back to it? Yeah. So put it in your binder, put it with your notes or whatever. Once you get the notes from up front there, fill in what you can on this first page. Test next week. Dallas, I'll probably let you use your binder on the test next week. The bad thing is you got to have a binder that's in somewhat of an order. If you don't have it, the stuff in there, then you're going to be out of luck when it comes test time. So have a binder set up with this stuff in there. Sorry, Josh, I'm spreading my germs off from here and stuff.
No, absolutely not.
It's pretty bad right now.
Well, a little bit. It's obviously you from
Wait. I've seen his face before.
I have one. Like I have one.
I've stopped by and brushed Cody sometimes.
What?
I said I stopped by at the end of the day and brushed Cody a couple times.
Again, make sure you get these notes into your binder where they belong.
Yes, we
in
said
algebra
al-
class, not
Yes,
algebra.
no.
There is no algebra 4.
F-O-R. So on this, midpoints and bisectors, what we're going to cover, and again, we're going to move quickly. Most of this is really, really easy. Midpoint of a segment is a point halfway between the endpoints of a segment. I don't like that definition. The definition you should use for a midpoint is it's a point that splits a segment into what?
Segments with the ratio of 1:1.
Two
Equal halves.
equal halves, or two congruent, using the geometry stuff. What's congruent mean again?
Equals.
Equal, same measure. So if I have this, if I draw this segment, segment AB, tell me when to stop when I'm at the midpoint.
Stop. You might want to go a little bit. That's about
Close enough? That's the midpoint.
Yeah.
What do we know about segment AM and segment MB?
They're the same.
They're the same, they're congruent. Those tick marks, remember that tells us that those two are congruent to each other. So if I told you segment AM was 5 centimeters, what else would you know?
MB is 5 centimeters.
MB is 5 centimeters. How long is segment AB?
10 centimeters.
10 centimeters, using the segment addition postulate that we learned earlier this year, right? That's all easy stuff. So a midpoint separates a line segment into two segments with a ratio of 1 to 1. We were just doing ratios, and I think that last one we had was like 3 to 5 or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
What this is saying, we could still use this formula, or either one of these two formulas right here. Instead of having a ratio of 3 to 5, our ratio would be 1 to 1. Do you really want to use one of those two formulas if you don't have to?
No.
Probably not. All right, especially with ones. Do we really want to stick ones in all those places and do all that crazy stuff that we just did? It's more work than it has to be. So on this next slide is the formula that we're going to use to find the midpoint of a segment if we're on a number line. And after we write this down here in a little while, we're also going to find the coordinates of a midpoint if we're on a what? A graph on a coordinate system or coordinate plane. Big empty box on your paper is where you can put that formula in. What do you think M stands for?
Midpoint.
Midpoint. Brandon, has my head been in the way all the time? When I'm up there, I've been getting out of your way pretty good. So if we're on a number line, I'm just going to draw a number line here, make up something. We're on this number line. Point A, point B. I don't know, give me a coordinate for point A.
-2, 3.
-2.
We make one more close?
So we're on a number line, right? So if that's -2, what's B?
No, not
3, 2, which one is it? Let's count it.
2.
-1, 0, 1, 2, 3.
So all we're going to do to plug into this formula, we have a starting point, have another point after that. And it doesn't matter which one's which, it makes absolutely no difference. What goes in place of x1? -2 plus what? x2? 3 divided by 2. What is -2 plus 3?
1.
1 divided by 2?
Yeah.
A half, 0.5. So let's look at that. That's -1, that's 0, that's 1, that's 2. 1/2 is our coordinate. Where's 1/2 going to be at?
Between 0 and 1.
Between 0 and 1, right there. Does it look like that distance is the same as that distance?
Yep.
That's what it should be when you're doing the midpoint. Those two distances should be the same. We found the coordinate of the midpoint, so that would be M there. That's the coordinates of that midpoint. Pretty easy stuff, Randy. That's real easy, isn't it? Add the two together, divide by two. Does anybody know what other math operation does stuff like that? You add stuff together and then divide. You're finding what?
Mean,
The mean or the average. Now, we're gonna learn later on in the year that mean and average, I shouldn't probably say that because that's mathematically wrong. You were correct when you said the mean. The mean's the correct thing, average is not the correct thing.
in science, we also talked about it.
Really?
Yeah.
Did he tell you that there's a whole bunch of different averages? See, there's all kinds of different averages, the mean is one of them. We'll talk about that later on the sheet. Find this on your paper, we're gonna do this real quick. Do the next one real quick. What's the coordinate for x? -3, write that in there. What's coordinate for z?
8.
8, everybody agree with that? So define m. What two things are we gonna add together? -3 plus 8, might wanna grab your calculator. What's -3 plus 8?
5
And then 5 divided by 2?
is
2.5. What's the coordinate of point M then?
2.5.
Let's see. Where's 2.5 at on our number line?
Right 2, sorry.
Right 2 and
And a half.
half. Does that look like it's right in the middle?
Yeah.
So that's the coordinate. That's where that midpoint would fall at. Anything real difficult there? Kaylee, you can understand all that? It's pretty easy stuff, right? Yeah, I knew that. Give me the coordinates for point A. F? Everybody agree with that?
Yeah.
Find M, find the coordinates of the coordinate of the midpoint. What are we gonna do on top? -5 plus 7, which Keith was already saying was 2. That's all right. So 2 divided by 2, what's that give us?
1.
So where should the midpoint be? Ignore that, that's supposed to be a 1.
Just a tall one.
That's a big 1. So the midpoint should be right there. Does that look like that's right in the middle?
Yeah.
What can you tell me about the length of segment AM?
It's -5.
It's,
It's congruent to MF.
That's true. It's congruent to MF. Tell me the actual length of
6.
6. How long is segment MF?
6.
6. How long is segment AF?
12.
And another thing that we could say from this picture is that we know what Keaton said originally. We know that segment AM is congruent to segment MF, right? Is that mathematically correct the way I wrote that?
Yes.
Something wrong with it. What's wrong with it?
Where's the symbol?
When you're doing this, you don't need the segment symbol because you know it's giving you a measurement, right? When we're saying congruent, when we're doing the geometry stuff, you need the symbol. Oops. Ignore that. It's supposed to be a segment symbol. Ugly segment symbol. So you've got to know when to put the symbols in there and when you don't need them. Apani works at a vintage clothing store. She wants to hang a new sign so that it is centered above the dressing room.
Name your child Apani.
Same person that names her child Keith. Why would you just like, I can't help myself when you paint a target on your forehead. See, it's a good thing I said that earlier, wasn't it? 'Cause you
Too
didn't
bad he
hear
has a
it.
key.
Is that Mr. Eiler?
No.
Mr. Ebersole's making fun of me.
Making fun of you?
Hey, sir,
Yes, sir.
I was gonna talk to him.
She wants to hang a new
Oh,
sign that is
I
centered
voted. I did.
above the dressing room doors. Given that the dressing room doors have the same width, find the point along the wall that Apani should use to hang the new sign. So we want to figure out where she's going to hang this sign above these doors here. Sort of hard to tell, but you can see, where did they start measuring from?
The wall.
Over here at the wall or somewhere, right? So right there at 0. So they have a number line that starts at 0. And we go out to X2, that's where the end of the doors are, and X1 is where the doors start. So, oops, X1, not X2. Could we just figure this out without using the formula? Probably so. But let's use the formula. What do we know about, I'll tell you what, let's not use the formula right away. Let's just figure it out.
I think I use the plasma cutter and the cutting torch and aggregates.
Can we figure out the width of the doors?
Yeah.
How wide are they? Subtract them. What do you come up with?
Real quick, sorry.
All right. What do you come up with? Close.
Good job.
Just be
6, right? So the width of the door is 6. If the width of the door is 6, where's the midpoint going to be at in there?
3.
Is that
At 3. So if we were measuring from right here, how far over would we have to measure?
3.
3 feet. How, if we were measuring from this side of the door, how far over would we have to measure?
3 feet.
3 feet. Well, if we're at this, is our answer 3 feet?
No.
No, that makes sense to Brandon. He's saying, well, I just measure from the door over 3 feet. Yeah, but that's not what the question asked. 'Cause they wanted to make it mathematical, so they made it harder than it had to be, Brandon.
Of course they did.
So they're measuring from here over 3 feet. Well, on our number line,
You gotta start at 0.
we're measuring from here over, we want 3 extra feet in here. What point is this right here?
7.5.
7.5. And we want to add 3 feet to that, what do you come up with?
10.5.
So what's the coordinates of that midpoint?
10.5.
10.5 feet. That's the coordinates of the midpoint. Because we're starting from the wall and measuring all the way over. Brandon, that makes sense? That makes sense? Lying to me?
Yep.
Again, could we have just measured from here and measured over 3 feet? Yeah, that would have made sense once we figured out.
But in
how
the
far it
math
was.
world, when Johnny has 45 watermelons and Sally has 64 bottles of soap,
And you
it
wonder
does-
why I
it's
was
just
making fun
complicated.
of you earlier. Find this one on your paper.
Johnny had watermelon, Sally had soap.
See how I just ignored that, Jalen? I'm getting pretty good at it.
Most people do.
Ignore me or just in general?
The temperatures at 11 a.m., 8 p.m. are shown. Find the midpoint of these temperatures. So we're going to find the midpoint. We're going to divide by 2. What's our starting temperature?
20.
Which one?
20 degrees. How do you know that's your
Oh.
starting one?
Because it's 11
Because it tells you it's 11 a.m., right? 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. What's our 8 p.m. temperature? Be careful.
6.
-6. Everybody agree with that?
Yeah.
What do these thermometers go by?
2.
So if I'm here at 0 and I go down 1 mark, I'm at negative,
2,
then negative,
4,
and then negative. So it's negative 6.
6.
So plus a -6. What's on top there? 14. What's on bottom still?
So we 7.
So 7.
That's our midpoint.
7 degrees is our midpoint.
This
Celsius.
is easy.
Celsius, is that what it's in?
Yeah. That's a pretty chippy game.
Find this paper, fill this in, now we'll get it a little harder, Keith.
I didn't say make it harder. I said this was getting
I
easy.
didn't say you said make it harder, I just said now it's gonna get a little harder.
This is a lot of homework. Oh, it's hard. It's all odd though. Oh, never mind. 13 to 47 is still a decent amount.
Right, let's go. Make sure you fill in the top. Now we're on a what? Instead of a number line, we're on a coordinate plane. So it's going to be a little harder. Notice, same thing as last time. What makes it a little harder is you got to do it twice. Doing the same stuff, just doing everything twice. Doing it for the x coordinates, doing it for the y coordinates. What's the big M out there stand for? Midpoint. You might want to write that in. This seems to confuse a lot of students. X sub M. What do you think that little m stands for?
Midpoint of the x
Midpoint.
coordinate.
That's the x coordinate of the midpoint. That's the y coordinate of the midpoint. You guys, whenever students look at formulas, if I ask you what's the formula for area of a rectangle, what do you tell me? Length times width. Base times width, or any of that stuff. It all means the same thing, right? That's not right, because that's not a formula. Alright? It's got to have something else on the other side of the equals sign. It's always area equals that. And that's the way this is. It's this equals that. So we're going to need that some of the time if they give us a harder problem. And we're going to do a harder problem here in just a second. But that's the formula. All you're doing is taking the x coordinates, adding them up, dividing by 2. That's one answer. Take the y coordinates, add them up, divide by 2. Please make sure, write this down somewhere on there. When you're doing this, how many answers should you come up with?
2.
2 answers. You got an x and you got a y. When you're doing the distance formula, how many should you come up with? 1. Don't get the things confused.
Why does the x2 have to go first?
It doesn't. And that's a good point. This has got x2 plus x1. Does it matter?
It's never been.
No.
1, 2.
All right, so Chase wants to turn these around and put a 1 here and a 2 there. That's fine. And then maybe he gets over here to this one, and now he likes the 2 being first better. Who cares? It's all the same thing. It makes no difference which order. All that matters, x is here, y is there. Those you can't intermingle. On this one, we're going to graph it real quick. So there on your paper, go ahead and graph your points. I'm going to graph mine up here. Let's see, I need 8 for x, so it should be all right if I just do something about like this. -2, 1. That's point A right there. 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3. That's B right there. What are we trying to find of this again? Midpoint. Could we find the length of that whole segment? Yeah, by using the distance formula that we learned earlier this year, right? But now we're just trying to find the midpoint. Somebody tell me to stop when I get somewhere close to the midpoint. So we should get a point somewhere around in there. Somebody want to see what that is so we can make a guess? 2, 2? I don't know. That's close enough.
2, 2, or 2.
They call it 2.52.
2.52? Alright, that'd be close. Now let's actually do it and see what we come up with. M equals, what's our x's? Let's do this first. This is x1, ignore that. That's y1, that's x2, that's y2, oops, y2. Again, if Chase wants to turn them around, can he? Yeah, it doesn't make any difference. What's my x's? Plus, that's divided by 2. What's my y's? One plus 3 divided by 2. When you do this, you're doing it on your calculator and you're trying to punch it all in at once, be careful. If you do this one and come up with the answer of 2, you did something wrong. So try to punch it into your calculator, but when you punch it in, you should do the top first, hit equals, and then do divided by 2. What do you come up with?
6.
I got 3.
How about this one?
I got 2.
2? Everybody agree with those?
Yeah.
That's our midpoint.
Wow, you made us get the wrong answer.
Were we pretty close?
Yes.
Yeah, we weren't too far off. Think you could handle that one on your own? Too bad. This one's a little harder. Find this one. Find that one on your paper. This one you need to watch. Even the giant brain Josh needs to watch on this one because this one's a little tough. Sometimes Brandon, you just gotta holler at me when I forget stuff, right? I won't yell at you for disrupting my class or anything. I was wrong anyway. They were right out here where you could have grabbed them. On this one, we got the points 3, 1/2, 8, 3. So I'm going to graph those. Now, as I'm graphing these, please watch closely and read the problem carefully. So P is 3 and up 1/2. It's going to be somewhere about in there, right? That's P. Is that right? Then B has coordinates 8, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3. That's B. What's different about this problem?
All those are fractions.
Read it.
Find the coordinates.
If what?
The midpoint is
This is the midpoint.
So we're gonna find the other coordinate.
So we're finding the other point that's one of the two endpoints, and that makes it a little tougher. So are we just drawing just this segment, and we're finding the midpoint in here?
No.
This is the midpoint, and we're finding another point that's where? It's farther over to the left. So it's coming down, something like that maybe? That's the point that we're looking for. Probably point what? Point A. Somewhere in there. We could make a guess if you wanted. What's the guess? -2, -2, let's say. So that's a guess. But we're finding it, and it's going to be a little different. Can we just use the formula the way we did on the other? No, it's not going to work. Now watch. This is what you have to do here. Your whole equation is this. XM, YM equals X. Chase, is it all right if I just do this and do X plus X divided by 2? Because we don't care which ones they are, do we? And then Y plus Y divided by 2. Do we know what the X coordinate is of the midpoint?
Yeah.
What is it?
3.
So we're going to stick that in there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take that and we're going to set it equal to just the X part there. So 3 equals X plus X divided by 2. Do we know one of those two?
Yeah.
Be careful.
8.
That's an X and that's a Y, right?
Yeah.
So 8. So let's do X plus 8 divided by 2. Is that an equation that we can solve? Now, before we start to solve that, don't start to solve it. Stop and pay attention up here. Let's do the same thing for the Y's. so that you see how to set up the equation. You're going to take the y coordinate of the midpoint. What's the y coordinate of the midpoint?
0.5.
0.5. Should have known that we were going to change that. 0.5. That's going to equal that part of the equation. The first y we don't know, so y plus, do we know one of the y's?
Just 3.
It's just 3. Divided by what? Is everybody seeing where I'm getting that from? Tell me, is that making any sense? You got to look on your face like, Ebersole, I'm not sure about this. All you're doing is separating it. You're working, using the formula, working it backwards because you knew this instead of knowing all of this. Let's solve this bottom one. If I remember how to solve an equation like this from last year in algebra,
Yes, you get y by itself.
how do you get y by itself? First thing you do if you got this big fraction is what?
Times 2.
Multiply both sides by 2. Multiply this side by 2. What's 2 times 0.5?
What?
What happens with the 2's over here? What's left?
5 plus 3.
Subtract 3.
Subtract 3 on both sides. So y equals what?
Negative 2.
Sorry, my pen quit working. Make that equal sign there. Okay. Y equals negative 2. Can everybody read that sort of?
Yeah.
Let's go back up here and let's solve for x. How are we going to solve for x?
Do the same thing.
Multiply both sides by
2.
2. These cancel out. You're left with x plus 6, or I'm sorry, x plus 8 equals, what's 2
6.
times 3? Now what?
Oh,
Subtract 8, what's x equal?
Minus
Negative 2, ignore that. So we got that, we got that. What's our point?
2. Negative 2.
Negative 2, negative 2. Is that our midpoint?
No, that's our
No,
coordinate.
that's what we had to find.
That's the other
Coordinate.
end point. The other starting or ending point.
It's in that.
It's not too hard, right? You just got to be able to separate. Try this one. Graph it real quick. Read it. This is another hard one. Graph it. I'll graph mine. Let's see, 12. So we need 12 out that way. Something like this. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1. As you're doing that, which one do they say is the midpoint? R is? R is the midpoint. Are we trying to find some point in here?
Yeah. No.
Where are we going to?
Farther down.
Farther down from R, so we're going down this way, that's probably a little too far, isn't it? About that far, what, maybe about here somewhere maybe? That looks close? Too far maybe? Somewhere in that general area? Should I just let you try it and see if you guys get the right answer?
yes.
So try it on your paper there, I'll try it up here.
How much?
And then change colors. Close to that?
Yeah.
Get it just by guessing, keeping, or did you actually do the math? All right. Is where I messed up? The slopes. Let's try to do that. That's sort of what the equation does. As a matter of fact, if you remember the equation,
Where'd you get that 2.6 at?
it's 2 times 6. I multiplied both sides by 2 to get rid of that 2. And that's 2 times 6. If you can do it that way, I don't have any real problem with it. As long as you're getting the right answer, you know, because sometimes, sometimes they throw you a little bit of a curveball and something goes sort of a different way or something and it doesn't work out quite as nice, so. Fill in what you need to fill in on this. Got just a few minutes left. This last thing here, this is easy. Dallas, any of this sinking in? Why do you lie to me all the time? Anybody know what the word bisects means?
Cuts in half.
2 sections, splits into 2 equal sections. When you're in science class and you're dissecting something, what are you doing? Split it into 2 sections? Like die and not by. What's die as the prefix mean? Multiple. Bunch. So you're just cutting it up. What's trisect mean? Split it into 3 equal sections. So bisect, you're just splitting it. Didn't we have this definition earlier? Splits a segment into 2 congruent segments. Didn't we have that earlier?
A little different wording, but yeah.
What was that the definition of?
It was the midpoint.
Midpoint. You know why it's the same definition? Because a midpoint does what to a segment?
Same thing.
It bisects it. A midpoint is a segment bisector. Midpoint is a segment bisector. Lots of things could bisect a segment. A midpoint is one of them. Look at this one on your paper there. We're going to do this real quick. We've already done problems like this earlier this year. If T is a midpoint, what do you know about these 2 segments?
They're congruent.
They're congruent. What equation can I set up?
2x plus 3 equals 4x plus minus 5. with
Write
minus
that down on your paper. 2x plus 3 equals 4x minus 5. Now what?
So-
Add the x's.
Start solving. Do I add the x's?
Oh,
Oh,
no,
just subtract the x's.
Subtract 2x on both sides. You're left with 3 equals, what's 4x minus 2x?
2x.
Minus 5 still. Add 5. What's that give us?
So x equals
2x equals 8. Divide by 2. X equals 4. What'd they ask us to find? Did they ask us to find x?
4.
They asked us to find the measure of RT.
Segment RT. So RT equals, where's RT at?
Right there.
There to there, right? How are we going to find that?
2x plus
2 times
3.
3.
4 plus 3. So 2 times 4 is 8.
11.
Plus 3 is 11. That would be our answer.
Good job.
What's segment TQ? How long is it?
11.
11. How about segment RQ?
22.
22. How about segment QR?
22.
I thought I could trick you. The assignment is on the bottom of that page. There's actually a couple more of those. Those are pretty easy, right?
13.
13 through 47, the odd.